Alright guys, the UFC lightweight division is in complete chaos right now. It's honestly one of the most interesting positions the division has ever been in. There are so many potential matchups, so many moving pieces, and so many fighters all gunning for that next shot at the belt. And with Islam Makhachev sitting on top of the mountain, everyone wants a piece of him. But the problem is, not everyone is going to get it. Let's start with Islam himself. He's made it pretty clear through his team that they're not exactly in a rush to fight Ilia Topuria. They're saying Ilia needs a big win at lightweight first before getting a title shot. Which, fair enough, you can't just jump weight classes and expect a title fight. Unless you're Ilia Topuria. Because, honestly, that matchup between Islam and Ilia is probably the biggest fight the UFC can make in any division right now. The champion versus the new P4P king. That's history in the making. But Islam's team doesn't seem sold yet. They're saying Ilia needs to prove it at 155 first. Now, the crazy thing is Ilia doesn't even want to fight Arman Tsarukyan. So that removes a top contender right there. Arman's coming off big wins and should be next in line, but because of politics, preferences, and timing, he's kind of being left in limbo. Meanwhile, Charles Oliveira's calling for a rematch. With Islam, Geetha's saying he wants the shot too. Everyone wants the belt, but only one guy is going to get it. And until that's locked in, nobody else in the top 5 is really moving. We're at this weird transition in the lightweight division. The old guard Dustin Poirier, Githja, Chandler, even Charles, to an extent, those guys are nearing the end of their careers. This might be the last window we get to see these legends fight for gold or against each other in legacy matchups. So, the UFC needs to make the right fights right now. Not just the biggest fights, but the right ones. Let's make this. Islam Makhachev has 3 options. 2 obvious ones. 1 wild card. First, Ilia Topuria. If the UFC wants the biggest fight possible, this is it. It's number 1 versus number 3 on the pound-for-pound list. Ilia is arguably the most dangerous opponent for Islam. He's got the power, the finishing ability, and he's unpredictable. Yeah, Islam's got better wrestling, and yeah, we've seen Ilia taken down before. But styles make fights, and Ilia's boxing in the pocket is different. If he gets inside on Islam, we're going to learn real quick what Islam's defense looks like in close range. Volkanovski got into the pocket a few times and even dropped Islam, so it's not like Islam is invincible there. But we haven't seen someone with Ilya's kind of heat test him in that space. If Islam beats Ilya, that's a legacy win. That's beating Volkanovski twice, beating Charles, and now beating Ilya 3P, 4P, top 3 fighters. That puts him top 5 all time, no question. But if Ilya wins, he's only had 5 ranked wins, but 3 of those would be Volk, Max, and Islam across 2 divisions. That's speedrunning greatness. That's McGregor 2015, 2016 type stuff. Now, let's say the UFC doesn't go that route. Then it has to be Arman Tsarukyan. He's earned it. Even with the injury that forced him to pull out, he's the #1 contender. No one else deserves it more, unless you count Ilya. Charles can't leapfrog him. Getcha can't leapfrog him. Arman has been grinding and evolving. His wrestling is arguably on Islam's level. But the gap is in the striking. Islam is much more polished on the feet. Arman's powerful, sure, but not technical enough to handle Islam in a stand-up battle. That fight is competitive, but Islam is likely always one step ahead, especially when it comes to fight, IQ, and composure. Now, the third option. Justin Gaethje, Islam's team, actually wants that fight. Gaethje's team wants that fight. And, funny enough, they're both managed by Ali Abdelaziz, so he'd be double-dipping in a title fight. But let's be real stylistically, Gaethje is in a nightmare matchup. We just watched Fiziev take him down and attempt an inverted triangle choke. That's Fiziev who isn't even known for his grappling. What's Islam going to do? On the feet, Gaethje's aggression might just play into Islam's hands. Islam's a counter-striker with elite wrestling. That's the blueprint to beat. Justin, if he moves forward, he gets taken down. If he fights on the back foot, he gets pressed against the cage and tripped down, like Khabib did. There's just no winning position for Gaethje. So unless Gaethje lands a puncher's chance shot, which is always possible. Don't get me wrong, he's not going to beat Islam. But a puncher's chance shouldn't be the selling point of a lightweight title fight. This isn't heavyweight now. Let's circle back to Charles Oliveira. If Arman doesn't get the shot, Charles shouldn't either. He lost to Arman. If he goes out and beats someone like Gaethje or Ilya, okay, then we talk. Otherwise, it's not justified. But Charles versus Ilya is the fight to make. That's a #1 contender fight, if I've ever seen one. Both guys are explosive, dangerous, and they've been talking. Charles has said Ilya needs to respect the division, and Ilya claims he's the real lightweight champ. Let them settle it. Charles has the experience and size to give Ilya real problems. He's stronger now than ever. We saw that against Chandler. Took him down multiple times. And Charles is still a killer on the feet and on the ground. But Ilya is so clean and accurate with his striking, it only takes one shot. And Charles, for all his improvements, still doesn't move his head enough. Mid-range is dangerous for Charles in this one. Ilya versus Arman. Another great matchup. Can Ilya handle the wrestling of a real lightweight? Because Arman is not going to stand there and trade overhands with Ilya. He's going to jab, kick, shoot for takedowns, and try to neutralize him. Ilya could knock him out, but that's a coin flip fight. Arman's chin is solid, and if he gets top control, Ilya's not getting up easily. Arman versus Geetha. That's bad for Justin. Arman would ragdoll him. The only question is whether he subs him or ground and pounds him. Geetha doesn't have the jiu-jitsu to survive those exchanges. That's a bad stylistic matchup. Now for Ilya, outside of Islam and Arman, Charles makes the most sense. But what about Geetha? That's just not a competitive fight. Ilya would destroy him. The pocket exchanges, the takedown threat, the jabs, all of it favors Ilya. Geetha would be a sitting duck in there, trying to block punches with his face, while Ilya peppers him. If Ilya fights Justin, it ends brutally. Charles has another possible fight, Max Holloway. They fought once before, but it wasn't a real fight. Charles got injured early, and it ended awkwardly. A BMF rematch would be fireworks. Max has the output, but Charles has the size, the power, and most importantly, the wrestling. That's what Geetha didn't bring to the table against Max. Charles would. I'd favor Charles there. Max's chin has been cracked 2 fights in a row, robbed by Justin, code by Ilya. That's not a good sign heading into a war with someone like Charles. For Geetha, if it's not Islam, Arman, or Ilya, ... give him Dan Hooker. That was the original matchup before Fiziev stepped in. It's the perfect fight for where both guys are at. Geetha has the power. Hooker has the volume and durability. And stylistically, that's a 50-50th fight now. Geetha looked great against Fiziev. Hooker's always game. Make it happen. And for Max Holloway's best fights right now are Dustin Poirier or Dan Hooker. Dustin makes sense if it's a retirement bout. They've fought twice. Dustin won both. But now, Max has a real chance. Dustin is durable as hell, but Max is sharper than ever. Or you could do Max versus Hooker. That's a banger, but it's a fight where Max would probably shine. As for the rest of the division, Chandler's fighting Paddy, so he's locked. Mateusz Gamrot versus Renato Moicano could be fun. Benoit Saint Denis versus Joel Alvarez is already booked. Grant Dawson could fight Atman Azatar or someone like that. So, to wrap it all up, here's how I'd matchmake it. Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria for the lightweight title. Arman Tsarukyan versus Charles Oliveira 2. 5-round co-main, #1 contender. Justin Gaethje versus Dan Hooker, Ulawat War. Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier 3. Retirement or redemption. Mateusz Gamrot versus Renato Moicano. Grant Dawson versus Atman Azaitarith's division needs movement, and it needs it now. These matchups set the whole thing on fire and usher in the next chapter of lightweight greatness. Drop your dream matchups in the comments below. How would you fix the lightweight division? I'll catch you guys in the next one.